the main Digimon antagonist group in Digimon Adventure, coming in to up the ante after the forces of Devimon and MetalSeadramon. But interestingly, the Dark Masters were all introduced at the Mega level and were defeated at the Mega level, so we never saw them Digivolve, which begs the question that of course we're going to answer: what would be the Dark Masters' full Digivolution lines? And hey monster fans, before this video gets started, I have got an incredible sponsor today that I'm really excited to share with you, and that is Cassette Beasts. Cassette Beasts is an incredible new monster game, letting you explore an island as you capture and battle with various monsters in turn-based combat. And in this game, you actually transform into monsters using retro cassette tapes, which is so much fun conceptually, and form relationships with your companions that affect your strength in combat. There are 120 different monsters in Cassette Beasts, and you can fuse them together to create brand new fusions. I am so in love with the visuals of this game, and that retro 90s cassette vibe is very welcome, letting you explore a rich open world and traveling alongside a diverse cast of human companions. And yep, there's even couch co-op with friends, you love to see it. And Cassette Beasts is out now on PC, so do go grab it on Steam, but if you're a console person, don't worry, the Xbox Series X and S and Switch version of Cassette Beasts is coming out late spring 2023, so hopefully soon. Thank you to Cassette Beasts for sponsoring this video, and let's get to it. Alright, so the Dark Masters evolution lines. Now normally in these videos we're approaching a topic where there isn't a ton of lore already available, or if there is, it's a little bit more patchy. However, we actually have kind of canonical evolution lines for these guys, because of the various Digimon Adventure WonderSwan games which are semi-canonical. Most things in them don't necessarily contradict anything in the Adventure universe, but for example, Plasmon is the default Gomamon Mega in those games, but later on in Tri, it would turn out to be Vikemon. Although I guess theoretically it could be both. These games do give us evolution lines for the Dark Masters, and I think generally they do work very well. However, not all of them work well. So I'm going to take you through the ones that I think work pretty good, talk about maybe some other suggestions that I think would be cool, and then when we get to that one sticking point, oh, you know your boy's going to have his own headcanon. So we start with MetalSeadramon. And it's really no surprise, is it, that in Digimon Adventure 02 Tag Tamers and D1 Tamers, MetalSeadramon digivolved from MegaSeadramon, then Seadramon, and finally Shakomon. Now that's a fun pick in my opinion. Shakomon as a Seadramon rookie is a little bit of a subversion. Normally you'd expect something like Beatamon, and with Shakomon getting love in Digimon Survive, it really does bring things full circle. So yeah, Shakomon works here, though I do think, like I say, Beatamon or maybe even Madoki Beatamon could be fun here. Moving over to Puppetmon, again with Tag Tamers and D1 Tamers, we have its evolution line coming from Cherrymon, then Woodmon, then Floramon. Again, really not surprising. Puppetmon from Cherrymon makes infinite sense, the wooden puppet being carved from the tree, and that smaller tree being Woodmon. Although usually I do see Woodmon digivolving from Mushmon, not Floramon. It's not uncommon to see Floramon digivolve to Woodmon, but I think more so I associate Woodmon as a Mushmon evolution. And I also think maybe Mushmon would work a little bit better for Puppetmon. I'm definitely happy with Floramon, however, because I also think it's important for all of these evolutions, and that's why I am sticking generally for now with the Tag Tamers ones. These Digimon should be from the time period, aka 1999 or earlier. For example, if you wanted to for some reason, you could throw Swimmon into MetalSeadramon's evolution line, but Swimmon came out much later than 1999. When looking at that 1999 or earlier set of Digimon, yeah, Floramon is definitely a very valid pick for Puppetmon. As I said though, I would probably go with Mushmon just because it feels a little bit more Dark Masters-y, but either of these are absolutely fitting because they actually debuted in the same episode as the dangerous game Pinocchimon. Pinocchimon being Puppetmon's Japanese name, as they are both members of the Wind Guardians group, which Puppetmon has dominion over. Something I also want to remark on, which could be interesting, is Kiwimon is part of the Wind Guardians and has a very long beak, which could somewhat translate to Puppetmon's long nose, but it might be a bit of a stretch. Machinedramon.
It's Machinedramon.
Machinedramon we actually have a few choices for. In the WonderSwan games, he digivolves from Megadramon, which, yeah, I think is a very no-brainer, old-school prevo for Machinedramon, but from there's a couple of different options. Megadramon in that game can digivolve from Gardramon, Mechanorimon, or Cyclomon. Cyclomon, and I like all of them. Cyclomon has its benefits because it's more dragon-ish looking. Machinedramon is a very underused Digimon, I think, for a lot of evolution lines. Megadramon has a lot of contenders. What I've always liked is Airdramon as well, but I really do want to keep Metal, Empire, Element to the Dark Master Machinedramon's evolution line. I think that's important. Machinedramon and Gardramon both debuted in the anime in the same episode, again in the Dark Masters arc, but I am going to settle on Machinedramon. It just resembles Machinedramon a little bit more to me, and Megadramon too. And then the rookie would be Haguramon. I'm happy with this. It's the rookie of Machinedramon, Gardramon, and even Cyclomon in those WonderSwan games, so it all checks out. Though Kokuamon did debut in 1999 too, so if you want something that was more sort of my personal pick rather than a WonderSwan canon pick, Kokuamon works very nicely in my opinion for this evolution line. Wow, this has been plain sailing. Really unusual for my videos. Well, Piedmon makes things difficult. Interestingly, in Tag Tamers also digivolves from Cherrymon, which is the Puppetmon Prevo. Weirdly, that kind of makes sense though, because I always link specifically Piedmon and Puppetmon in my head, and I'm sure in a couple of videos I've even gotten their names swapped around. They feel more connected in some ways. I feel like Machinedramon and MetalSeadramon are the two metal guys, and then Piedmon and Puppetmon are the two natural guys, I guess. And while the WonderSwan games were happy to keep the same Prevo for Puppetmon and Piedmon, I'm not. Now, the really common contender for the Prevo for Piedmon these days is Jokamon, but Jokamon was created in 2012, so I'm not choosing it for this video. Like I say, I want these picks to be as if they had happened back in the day, what was kind of intended in some manner, or what I believe could have been intended. Obviously, if like the Dark Masters got resurrected in a new movie, then kind of anything goes, I guess. So let's try and craft a new-ish, but not uncommon or unseen Piedmon evolution line. One we've seen before and one that I think definitely could work would be Phantomon, digivolving from Bakemon and finally Candlemon. I think it works nicely. It leans more into the ghostly side of things and definitely has that retro 1999 or earlier feel to it. It's a line you'd see a lot in things like this old card game back then. But what would be fascinating in my opinion is tapping in a little bit to a more recent Piedmon evolution, Volt Boutmon. A really interesting jogress, pretty unique, of a Mega Piedmon and an ultimate Myotismon. Interesting that years later after Adventure they would choose to link those two Digimon. And what's even more interesting is that Piedmon has digivolved from Myotismon a good few times in things like the card games, Digimon World Next Order, and so on. So I think it's a much better match over Phantomon for Piedmon's masked and flamboyant nature. And it's a fit I've always liked in my mind too. While Piedmon isn't a vampire, the aesthetic, the vibes, the characteristics of Myotismon and Piedmon feel very good side by side. It also means that one of our Dark Masters, kind of the leader of the Dark Masters in many ways, digivolves directly from a Digimon whose species, at least, I don't think it would be the same Myotismon, don't get me wrong, was a former major threat for the Digidestined. It would certainly make for an interesting thematic flow, which is why, from there, this Myotismon could digivolve from Devimon, going back again to a different version of a prominent adventure villain, before finally ending in the rookie being Devimon. Why not? In that evolution line for Piedmon then, we get Digimon that are all pre-1999, but also are all villains of the adventure series, in order almost, beside Devimon, which means that this evolution line works both on a visual kind of cohesion level, but also on a timeline of Digimon Adventure level, which I think is super fun. So that is it, the merging of the official Digivolution lines for the Dark Masters, as well as some suggestions of my own. Like I say, I pulled a lot of this from the Adventure WonderSwan games, so there is somewhat canon there. But if you've got your own ideas for completely new lines, maybe you want to ignore the pre-1999 ruling, let me know your ideas in the comments down below. I also probably at some point would like to do something where each of the Dark Masters get their own Volt Boutmon, but don't expect that too soon. Huge shout out to my sovereigns, It's Elementary, ZDK14, and Jmon, plus all these names you've been seeing on screen right now for supporting this channel with their hard-earned money. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.